going on, guys? Welcome to episode number 7 of Inspired Stories for the month of September. This month I am highlighting another artist, and I chose to highlight Stalley this month. Now, Stalley is a rapper from Massillon, Ohio, which is actually only about 25 minutes away from where I'm at in Ohio, which is pretty cool. I remember discovering Stalley probably around 2011, so we're talking 10 years ago now. I remember it was probably around the time when he originally got signed to Maybach Music, which is Rick Ross's label. And I remember Rick Ross did a remix of the song Lincoln Way Nights. He was on the remix with Stalley, and that was like the first song I heard. So I checked him out, and I remember seeing the cover art for Lincoln Way Nights, and then the Ohio flag was on there, and I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, I wonder if he's from Ohio. And then when I found out he was from Massillon, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, a guy from Massillon got signed to Rick Ross. So then I remember checking out the original song Lincoln Way Nights, and that kind of just set into motion like my fandom of Stalley. Like, I remember digging into that mixtape, because that was really, like, to me, as a fan of his, I think that was the mixtape where he really found his sound. And he had producer Rashad, who's from Columbus, do that entire project, and I think that was where like he really became the artist that he is now, because every song was just so well done. Everything was so tight knit on that project, and I don't even think there's any features on it besides, like I said, the Rick Ross remix was like a bonus track, and then Rashad does like hooks on a couple of the tracks and everything. So that kind of kickstarted like my fandom of his, and then fast forward to 2012, he was on Self-Made Volume 2, which is MMG's project, and he was a big part of that and everything. And then a couple years after that, he released his first album, Ohio, which has one of my favorite songs that he's ever done called Boomin' on there. That song's just so classic, like classic Stalley sound. He's always been compared to like Currency and people like that because he came around, the same time that those people came in the game, and he has like a similar sound to them. Like, I always loved that Stalley has been on like the boom bap and like old school sample type wave, which is pretty cool. And I remember being like a junior in high school when the debut album came out, and just having like a lot of attention on Ohio, and I always thought it was cool that Stalley like called his first album Ohio, and he really like paid homage to the state and everything. And it was almost like a Lincoln Way Nights, like a sequel, because Rashad once again did pretty much the whole production. I think there was a couple other producers, but to me that was just like so classic, to have that be like his first album on a major label and everything. And if you know anything about Stalley, shortly after he left Atlantic Records, I think a couple years later, and then kind of took some time away to kind of redevelop his brand and everything. He put out a few mixtapes in 2017, but nothing was really like stand out, or like a lot of people thought he kind of just disappeared for a minute. And then I think it was really, for me as a fan, I'd say like when he started dropping the Tell the Truth, Shame the Devil series, which was a 3-part series, that's when like things started to pick back up. And I remember Volume 3 had Cleanse on it, and Cleanse is just such a great song. Like, I think Black Metaphor did the production, and like Black Metaphor, just these heavy keys and these very soulful samples, like it fit Stalley so well. And I was like, okay, like Stalley finally has his footing back. Like, I think he's getting this independent thing figured out. And I remember he started doing like more interviews, telling people he wasn't on Maybach Music anymore. He wasn't on Atlantic anymore. He was fully independent. And then 2019 came around. At the end of 2019, one of my favorite albums that he's ever put out with producer Jansport J, called Reflection of Self, The Head Trip. Amazing album, like from top to bottom. I think it's only 9 songs, but God, like the production, the fucking styles on this thing, like highly recommend you go listen to that. Peppermints and Water, that is a beautiful closer track, and I love that song. That's probably one of my favorite songs he's ever done. Also New, obviously that was like the first single. Amazing body of work, and that was like really where I was like, okay, Stalley is back, man. Like, he is back in form. And ever since then, he's just been going crazy. BCG, Blue Collar Gang, is like a full-on label now. Like, he has artists signed to him. I know Gerald Walker I think he's from Brooklyn, is one of the main artists. So I think that's pretty cool that he has that going for himself as well. And then obviously, like, last year he put out a couple EPs. He had Trippie Redd on a couple of songs, which was actually kind of cool because Trippie's from Canton, which is right next to Massillon, so it was like a kind of a cool little collab there. A lot of people probably didn't know that. And then this year he put out the tape with Black Diamond called Gone Baby Gone, which I thought was another great, like, very soulful, captured the essence of the summertime type of record. And man, like every time Stalley for me is one of those artists that, like, every time he drops like a project, say for example, like, even if I don't like a couple of the songs, I'll always have some of the records in there that I'm just like, these are so good. And he's just one of those lyricists that you can tell he just loves the craft and he just takes his time with it. And like I said, I've always found it very cool that he was only he's only like 20 minutes up the road from where I'm from. Like, he technically got his start in Brooklyn because I believe, like, he moved from Massillon to New York, and kind of what Kid Cudi did. Where Kid Cudi's from Cleveland, but when he moved to New York, that's when his, like, career started to pick up because there's more connections, there's more opportunity. So I think for Stalley it was kind of the same. But man, like, I guess what I would just say finally about Stalley is just, I have a lot of respect for the guy. I think that it's very impressive to do what he did as far as, you know, being pretty much on one of the biggest rap groups in hip hop at the time, to kind of just go his own route and do his own thing and stay true to his sound. Because I think one of the main reasons he left was because people were trying to tell him what to release and what to put out and things like that, and he was like, nah, he's like, I know what my fans want and I know what I want. And that's what the most important thing was to him, and he just kept true to himself and just continued to put out the music that he wants to put out, and I highly respect it. You know, I hope that me and Stalley can connect some way in the future. You know, so if he sees this Stalley, man, I would love to connect. Maybe get you on the podcast or something, I don't know, but you know, he's like a legend to me, man, like Ohio legend. Definitely, if you haven't heard his music, if you're a real, like, hip-hop head and you love lyrical hip-hop, definitely check Stalley out. Like I said, he's been on a lot of different songs before with big artists and things like that, but the stuff he's putting out recently, I can tell he's re-energized and refocused for sure. So that is episode 7 of Inspired Stories, guys. I will be back in October with another producer. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching, so we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.